Jessii Vee, and in today's video we're going to be talking about some old classic games that were played in the 1800s and the early 1900s. Now these games might seem normal to you, but they all have a very creepy side to them. And as you can tell by the title of today's video, the first game we're going to be talking about is I Spy, which I know all of you have played, and you probably didn't know that it was from the early 1900s. But before we get started, I just wanted to give you a heads up that we do have a very large sale going on our website. So all the pictures popping up on the screen right now are the items that have reduced prices, including the necklace I'm wearing right now. This is one of our fairy necklaces. We have like 6 different fairy variations and they're all on sale right now. So if you want one, I have linked it down below. So let's jump right into the video talking about the I Spy game. So you guys probably know the rules because I bet you've played it growing up. But basically, one person plays the spy, if you will, and they look around them and try and find a specific object, and then they say, I spy with my little eye something that is, and you can choose a color, you can choose a shape, you can choose something that starts with the letter blank, and once that person has guessed correctly, they become the spy, and then they choose something for you to find. It's most commonly a game used in a car during a long road trip to pass the time. I remember my sister and I used to play this game all the time with my parents. It was just so much fun. It never got boring. And the game actually originated in the 1920s. The concept likely originated from the spy mania that occurred during and after World War II. So back around that time, people were so into like spy movies and spy things. Now what's very strange is that when this game first came out, the rule was that you could only play it with 2 players, which when I was a kid, it didn't really matter how many players you were using. Like literally I had my mom, my dad, my sister, and I always playing this game. Then I remember in the early 90s, the Scholastic brand came out with these I Spy books, and people went crazy over them. I believe there was over 100 of these books made. Their pages had a mishmash of objects that you had to spot whatever item they told you to find. So this definitely passed the time. These pages were filled with pictures of all kinds of different things. But I do remember there was this specific I Spy book that always used to scare me, and it had pages of clowns. I just remember they had these pages with spooky clown dolls that would just stare at you as you looked through the book. And I distinctly remember having nightmares about these pages. So if you guys remember these I Spy books, please comment down below. But let's get into the I Spy creepypasta. There was a story about this mother and daughter who played the I Spy game every single night before her daughter went to bed. Except they put a little spin on the game. Basically, they would turn off all the lights in her room and they would use a flashlight to play I Spy. So for example, the mother would start off by saying something like,
I spy with my little eye something green with spots.
And then the daughter would take the flashlight and look around the dark room until she found out it was one of the sleeves on her sweater that were sticking out of her drawer. Then it was the little girl's turn for her to pick out something for her mother to find. So she said,
I spy with my little eye something that is white and shiny.
So the mother looked around the room with the flashlight and she guessed about 15 different things, and none of those things were right. And it was getting late, it was past her daughter's bedtime, so she said,
I give up. What is it?
So the daughter took the flashlight and pointed to the back corner of her closet, and she said,
It's Mr. Thomas. He's smiling at you.
And the mother was shocked to see this crouched creature sitting in the back of her daughter's closet with this bright white shiny smile on his face. So the daughter was trying to point out his teeth. It's so creepy. And I'm very glad nothing like that ever happened to my sister and I when we played I Spy. Alright, the next traditional game we're going to talk about is called Spin Tops. Spin Tops are among the oldest toys ever discovered by archaeologists. Guys, the earliest ever recording of a spin top was 6,000 years ago. There was even one found in the tomb of King Tut. A spinning top is held upright by angular momentum. They don't change direction or slow down without the application of an outside force. So they're actually quite fascinating to watch. They just spin and spin forever. Now, this toy was quite popular back in the European Renaissance period, and these toys are actually depicted in many famous famous paintings. There's a painting from the 1500s called Children's Games by Bruegel, where you can see this little boy holding a spin top up in the air. And there's another one that was painted in the 1700s named Boy with Top by Chardin. Now there's actually a world record right now for the longest time a spin top has been spinning, and I think it's at 50 minutes. And I don't know about you guys, but I always think of the movie Inception whenever I see one of these toys. So let's get into the spin top creepypasta. This is about a girl who would always hear these strange noises in her grandmother's house whenever she was sleeping over there. The bedroom she slept in was right underneath the attic, and every single night she would hear this faint scratching sound coming from the ceiling above her. So she tried to be rational and assumed that it must have been some animal that was up in the attic, but sometimes it would keep her up all night. She says it almost sounded like someone was dragging their fingernails across the attic floor, and that's why she would hear it on her ceiling. On occasion, she would call her grandmother into the room to see if her grandmother could find out what was wrong, but her grandmother would always just say,
"It's an old house. It makes strange noises."
One day she was going through a box of her grandma's old records when she stumbled across a photo album that looked to be from the late 1800s. All the pictures seemed to show this family of four, nothing really wrong with it, but as she looked through the pictures, her heart stopped when she saw one of a little boy sitting on the floor playing with a spin top. So she quickly called her grandmother in the room and she said, "Were all these pictures taken in this house? Was this the family that lived here before you?" And her grandmother nodded yes. So the girl ran upstairs, opened the door to the attic, climbed up the ladder, and the first thing she saw when she peered her head up through the entrance of the attic was a spin top sitting in the very center of the floor right above her bedroom. And that's how this story ends. So obviously it's like the spirit of this little boy plays with this spin top during the night, which is so creepy. I literally always say that sentence in every single video I film. That's so creepy. And the last game we're going to be talking about is called Blind Man's Bluff. Now, this is a children's game that was first played 2,000 years ago in Greece, but it actually has different names depending on where it's played in Europe. For example, sometimes it's called Blind Fly, there's also Blind Cow and Blind Hen. One of the group members is blindfolded and runs around trying to catch the others, and they all try and stay out of this person's grasp. But every so often they'll try and run up to the person to get near to them. So basically it's kind of like tag, and if this blindfolded person grabs onto somebody, they have to guess who they think it is. If they get the answer right, they take off their blindfold and the person they caught becomes the one who is it. But if they guess the person wrong, they have to set the person free and continue playing. So now that you get the gist of the game, let's get into the creepypasta. There's a story about a group of kids who were playing Blind Man's Bluff in a field near a forest. And after playing for a little while, one of the kids suggested that it might be more fun to actually play this game in the middle of the forest, because there would be more obstacles to make it a little bit harder. So they all agreed and made their way into the maze of trees. And there was this girl named Judy who was the seeker and had to put her blindfold on. Things were going fine at first, until she began noticing that she couldn't hear her friends anymore. Assuming that maybe they were just staying extra quiet to fool her, she kept walking farther and farther into the forest, until finally she bumped into somebody. She grabbed them and said,
Caught you! I'm gonna guess you're Tom?
but she got no answer, so she assumed she guessed the wrong person and let them go. Farther and farther she walked into the forest with still no sounds of her friends. But then she bumped into somebody else, so she grabbed them and said,
I'm gonna guess this is Sarah?
but still no answer, so she let them go. She was getting frustrated and decided to take off her blindfold, and she was startled to see that she was standing in the middle of the forest in pitch black with no friends around her. She didn't know how much time had gone by, she had no idea where she was. So she sat in the forest until the sun came up and a search and rescue party found her. When she was reunited with her friends, she asked them why they had left her in the middle of the forest, and she also asked them why they kept running away after she had caught them. Now what's super creepy is that they told her that she hadn't had a chance to catch any of them because they lost sight of her only 2 minutes after playing the game. So who was it that she kept running running into in the middle of the forest. And that's how the story ends. So she was clearly catching things that weren't her friends, which is so eerie. That's so creepy, as I like to say. But anyways, guys, those are the 3 old traditional games that have a creepy side to them. If you want me to continue doing videos like this, definitely give this video a thumbs up and let me know, because there are hundreds of old children's games that I could talk about that have a creepy twist to them. But yeah, don't forget, if you would like to check out the sale on our website, I have linked it down below in the description. But I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!